Hello, hello, my name is Mero, and this is my Awesome Games Done Quick 2019 submission for Super Benbo Quest Turbo Deluxe Any %. This game's got a lot of wacky stuff, a lot of movement tech to explain, and not a lot of time, so let's get right into it. 3, 2, 1, go. So the first piece of movement tech, demonstrated right there, is known as a spin boost. When you collide with an enemy in the air with no direction on the D-pad, and you don't take damage, you'll get an insane amount of backwards momentum. So if you turn around right before hitting an enemy, you can turn that into forward momentum and then stack it with your base movement. And this effect will last until you do anything that will bring you to dash speed or lower, such as taking damage, hitting a wall, anything like that. And I'm going to pause and die at this checkpoint to refill my health because there's a very fun-looking damage boost coming up. See that guy lodged into the wall? We can use him to zip ourselves up that section of the wall and save about 5 to 10 seconds. It's really tough to do. It's pixel precise. We believe it might be frame precise. And this boss, I barely had the time to talk about it, but what we do is we get over all the way to the right and then do standing punches to keep turning him around and making him unable to move or shoot. There's a very specific rhythm to it to do it optimally, and I was pretty much there. And now for phase 2, we are going to run over to the right, so if we get hit, we'll just get bumped into the wall and not have to make as much distance. And he has 2 attacks, the skulls, which we're hoping to see, and the gun, which we're hoping not to see. Because the skulls will drop hearts sometimes when they get destroyed, and the guns will fire on whatever position you're at, which, if we're in the same position, isn't a good thing. Almost got the moonwalk there. For whatever reason, when you get out of this level, your momentum is stored during this cutscene. So what I was trying to do was to turn around at the last second so I'd have backwards momentum, but unfortunately we didn't get it. It doesn't save or lose any time, but, you know, having a moonwalk in a game is better than not having one, you know? Now coming up is the second major movement tech in this game. I'm going to try to do it right there. It's known as a super jump punch. When you dash, punch, and jump on the same frame, you will get an insanely high jump, which is because of the dash punch's ability to lower gravity. Like when you dash punch, your gravity is lowered for a short time. So when you jump on the same frame, it gives you the same vertical momentum a jump would with less pulling you down. And it has the active hitbox of the dash punch at the same time. What is that boy doing there? I didn't actually get a boost off of that bone projectile because if what you're hitting doesn't provide any knockback, you don't get a boost off of it. Gonna refill health in here. Super jump punch to skip just a small amount of platforming. That's maybe like 2 seconds. Like you can see there that the floating skull didn't actually give me any boost. And that's simply because it didn't give me any knockback to work with. And of course, if you take damage, it doesn't work. That was bizarre. Doesn't usually happen, but anyway. Coming up here is what we call the auto-scroller skip. Or what would be skipping the auto-scroller, I suppose. By using spin boosts, we can clear larger gaps than we're normally intended to. And then at the end, we can kind of glide just a little bit. Like that first pit, I kind of mashed jump in the air to glide. It's not intended as far as I know, but it's in the game, so we make use of it. Ah, man. Couldn't mash fast enough to glide over there. I wasn't in position for a dive kick either. When you're falling and you don't have spin boost speed, the dive kick is your fastest movement, but it locks you at a very specific angle, so it's not always your preferred choice. Like, I wouldn't have been able to make that jump from that precise location without the glide. And again, we take a little bit of damage there, just to get past those guys a little bit faster. Oh, gonna refill health here. Just because it's still pretty scary territory. And every now and again when you pause and die, the music will just stop. I'm not sure why. And it's a shame because this game has a really great soundtrack. The main composer for this game actually has time on the board as well, so that's something else. Coming up is a very... Oh, man. Now we got it. Coming up is what that was a very precise super jump punch, or SJP, off of the moving platform to get us right to the loading zone. I took damage the wrong way, so it lost a couple seconds, but we still made it here in plenty of time. Speaking of the super jump punch, you can make use of it for this boss fight, as well as the dive kick. Because while the super jump punch has an active hitbox, each of these skulls counts as one hit, and you gotta clear them all, so you can get most of them out of the way basically immediately. Unfortunately, there's one last one that's stuck in his hurt box, and we can't get it until he drops it. And we unfortunately didn't survive. Yeah, every now and again, a skull will get stuck in his hurt box, and the actual guy dropping the skulls is invincible. So you pretty much just have to wait until he drops it or start again. And we started again, unfortunately. But now he's just going to do a little bit of exploding. I'm sure that first-time watchers are going to have a giggle at this, but if it's... There would be a good time for donation here if it's, I guess, quiet enough. But first-time watchers of this game always seem to get a laugh out of these scenes here. This game's got a lot of silly moments that some of we can't quite view because of, you know, being a speedrun. But there's a lot of stuff that is just so silly, so wacky. But yeah, this whole cutscene would be about 40 seconds if you wanted to put a couple donations in here. And then coming up, we have level 3, the airplane. Makes a lot of use out of spin boosting and the SJP together. And what you saw there was that a plane came from the left side of the screen, and it actually clipped me into it for just a couple frames, which meant I wasn't able to keep my speed. Because when you're stuck inside the level, the game will automatically push you upwards, like it did with the outline zip. But of course that drops your horizontal speed to 0, and it makes you lose your spin boost. Now here's a very, very, very tough tech called tail fin skip. We have to do a super jump punch with very low speed off of that block. And then wall jump off a very small section of wall on that tail fin of the plane to get all the way over. I was trying to get a spin boost off of that guy, but unfortunately the timing didn't work out. Now it's just over here being bothersome. But we made it through. If you get the spin boost before you hit the TNT section, you can save about 5 seconds, but it's so inconsistent, it basically never happens. Trying not to die here, because we're almost at the end of this segment, but we're also so far from the beginning. And we made it. Gonna refill health here once again. And coming up, this boss is a huge run killer. And also, this cutscene can get just a little bit loud, so might want to prepare for that. But our main goal here is trying to move from side to side to keep him backing away from us in the center of the stage. Because if he gets off stage, things get out of hand real quick. This is the Skelinator, and he has 2 attacks. We're hoping, surprisingly, for the missiles, because the beams just take forever. And as you can see there, he's off the stage. We can't really do him a whole lot other than wait for him to show up and try to swing from side to side again. Now those beams are super hard to avoid when you're trying to hit him quickly. But if you super jump punch and dive kick, you can kind of confuse them into shooting way higher than you're actually going to be. Which is probably the closest thing to some kind of tech for this boss that we have at the moment. Alright, we got him. And we almost got hit by those missiles, which would have made us die during this cutscene and have to restart the fight, which would have been awful. But we made it. And coming up now is level 4. There's a trick right at the start. It's called taking the elevator, and you'll see why in a second. So here we are at the office. Oh, floor 34, that's actually pretty high. We want to get down to the bottom, because this building's going to explode in just a few minutes. So we're going to pause and die 3 times. And the reason that works is because every time you load the room, it drops the floor counter down by 1. Now, normally you're supposed to reload the room by running through, like, a little bit of an obstacle course, watching a couple cutscenes, stuff like that. But we managed to skip all that just by reloading the room by dying. Now, this boy here, he can show up anywhere in the room, and you have to hit him 6 times. So the real only way to do this quickly would be to get the hard reads on him, which I'm not doing very well. And as you can see there, we did take an unfortunate death. It's going to cost us, what, like 30 seconds? It's not a huge run killer, but that was not particularly good reading. On rare occasions, you can get a double hit like that. Speaking of which, I'm not entirely sure why, but it saves time, so I'm not complaining. And I'm going to be dive kicking through these level transitions because it's just a few frames faster, and overall it's going to be, like, probably 3 seconds saved. That didn't actually lose any time. So that guy used to be a much harder fight until we found out you could stand on a very specific line on the floor and just do standing punches to take him out. As well as that guy. Basically the same thing. And then one more guy. Now, when they programmed this man, they didn't actually give him a re-hit rate for the dash punch. So you can pin him against the wall and just rattle off one dash punch to take him out basically instantly. 2 quick ones for a spin boost off of that guy. Gonna intentionally damage through the TNT there. And all this is fixed to spawn at the same time. So as hectic as it looks, there's a method to getting through it. I say as I almost die. But we've made it safely. I'm going to refill health in the next room, of course. And you're going to see the counter for the building explosion drop by a minute. When you reload a checkpoint, it sets the timer to a preset amount. I guess for casual play. So this is a lot of tricky movement. You can get around that door if you're quick, but I was not, unfortunately. Gonna grab these hearts because, you know, safety and whatnot. And there, the reason I didn't have to go through the actual section of blocks is because the loading zone for this area extended a couple pixels to the left, which was just enough to allow us to get through, basically. You know, we hit the loading zone, it went to the next room before we died. That's all we really need. Here's just a lot of mashing. There's going to be another lengthy cutscene coming up. And we escaped the room before it blew up. That's always great. Remember, kids, don't explode. But yeah, if you wanted to read a couple cutscenes during this time, that would be fine. It's about 40 seconds, including all the mashing. So if you wanted to do that, that would be okay. And then coming up is level 5, which has a section in the middle, which is extremely tough. I was trying to spin boost there, but my controller decided to input down when I was telling it not to. For whatever reason, that one bouncing skull doesn't have collision, so we couldn't boost off of him. But here comes the bicycle. This segment is known for being really, really tough, casually and in runs. It is an obscenely fast auto-scroller, where if you touch the wall for a second, a frame even, you die, and you have to start the whole thing over. So I'm going to be really careful here, trying not to get destroyed. There is a lot of lag here, which might be dependent on the setup. I have a decently high-end computer, and it happens basically every time for me. Trying to be really careful. This section is known for having those wait-a-second deaths, because it's so laggy that your punch sometimes doesn't connect before you hit the block, and then you die and the block still breaks, which is not fun, but we got through that first try, which is amazing. And for whatever reason, you can move and jump during that cutscene, so we're able to get to where the helicopter is basically instantly. And then once we're there, we can just kind of mash punches to take out his health bar. It is possible to get like a double jump off of the bike, but it's a lot easier to just do a super jump punch. If you could show up, that would be great. And we got him. You can usually take him out while he's flipping out from the phase before, but we were off by like one hit there, which is unfortunate, but whatever works. We still took him out. Now, coming up at the end of this room is going to be a glitch that saves about 10 to 15 seconds if we get it, but it's not guaranteed. If this man could stop juking me out, that would be nice. So what we're trying to do is gain control of our character during what is normally a cutscene. And you can see there that the bike is moving, and we have got it. And so what normally happens there is that you fall sideways, and about 10 seconds later you stand up. But we skipped that animation and are now sideways for until we die again, which is going to be instantly, because we have to avoid a crash at the start of this battle. One more time to get that amazing music. If those red bones he drops hit you, they can crash the game and make you start this whole segment over, which is not fun. Got really unlucky with his attack patterns there. We're hoping for as few laser eyes as possible. This is looking like it's going to be a 2-cycle. And it is. Alright. A couple deaths, but we did 2 cycles, so it makes up for it. That is the quickest you can do this fight. Average is usually 3-cycle. But hey, I'll accept it. So now he's going to explode into a bunch of squares. We did it. We beat the game. Time's going to be in just a few minutes. So just hold off for a second. I'll say when. And... Huh? What the? That is so bizarre. Alright. That is not the actual ending, in case you couldn't figure out. It is actually the start to level 6, the longest and most difficult level in the game. It's got a lot of tricky movement, it's got insta-kill spikes everywhere, and it's got a hugely amount of tough bosses at the end. So we're going to have to play super careful to go fast. But immediately when we start, we're going to hit those insta-kill spikes, just to show that they work. The reason we hit those is because that Hammer Brother guy, if you don't hit those spikes, he will be a little bit further forward, and then you have to actually work to get around him, instead of letting him get crushed. And here we use the power of the spin boost and the glide ability to get past all those... to get past that entire area way, way different than we're supposed to. Like, you're obviously not supposed to even be be able to clear those massive spike pits. Oopsie daisy. So the fact that we were able to, with spin boosts, makes it so much faster. And having to get through that section with the spikes on the floor and the ceiling is super stressful. Gonna damage through that guy just to get through. Another health refill. This room is all about catching cycles, because they're moving platforms that you have to get to at very specific times in order to climb up in time. And with the amount of crazy stuff that happens in this game, it's not always a guarantee, but we're gonna try to do it. We missed that one by just a hair. I missed my jump because of the lag. That's my excuse. Gonna refill health here. We just hit a checkpoint, thank goodness. Gonna do a very tough SJP to get up here. The actual punch itself is not the difficult part, it's not getting hit by the enemies, which actually made us miss one cycle of this platform. But now we gotta climb up all these falling blocks, and fun fact, if you wall jump off of the falling blocks, they don't fall. Which means we can use that and the left side of the screen to get all the way across. Oh goodness. That's why I was trying to take the damage there, so I'd have iframes to get through, but they ran out at just the wrong time. And we missed the cycle once again. Unfortunate. Gonna show off this segment one more time, I suppose. So if we're jumping off the edge of the screen that normally isn't there, would that make it a fourth wall jump? Huh? Oh goodness. Alright, we took double damage. That's fine. We're going to pause and die to skip a cutscene, and then we're going to hit the control key to skip this huge, long, annoying fight, where you can glitch through the floor and die instantly and have to start all over. Apparently it's a debug tool left in accidentally by the developer, but I am amazed. I am extremely thankful that it was still in there, because it saves a good couple of minutes, even if you do that fight optimally. Like, it's stressful, it's not consistent, there's no real way to deal with his patterns other than taking damage and hoping you get the safe one. But that is the end of the platforming segment for now. We're gonna have a big long cutscene here. Gonna do a lot of mashing, then gonna run across this room. So I just gotta give it a second here. They're gonna have a little conversation. This would be a fine time for donations as well. And the reason we're running on 1.01, it actually patched a boss skip for a later boss, but because we have 4 dash buttons to use, being the triggers and bumpers on the controller, we can mash so much faster. You can basically skip text every frame. And that saves surprisingly more time than the optimal version of the boss fight. Plus it makes doing things like instant super jump punches, like for tailfin skip, just that much easier. Now coming up here, this boss can go very wrong very fast because she does so much damage. And it's us. This character, which clearly isn't derivative of any other character in any video game. That's why this fight can be so tough, because these punches will kill us in 3 hits. Like, we're on the brink of death now, and we have died. The main way to deal with this boss is just kind of space her out. Kind of let her walk into us, and then do standing punches just at the edge of her range. Like that. That actually went pretty well, all things considered. But wait, how are we going to deal with this many of them? I hadn't considered this. Oh my goodness. Great googly moogly, who did this? Who could it be? The main villain has been defeated. Oh no. So this fight's gonna start the same way as the fight we just had. Except this attack, which he does 3 times, he's invincible when he hits the ground, as you can see. And now we're hoping to keep him in place so he doesn't warp. Because he can teleport behind you like that. Which obviously wastes a bunch of time. But that's phase 1. Now phase 2, we're hoping he stays low. And he did. We gotta take out the 7 Chaos Skulls. Which he can do right as they're falling. That was an optimal phase 2. Phase 1 was a little bit slow. Really trying to get these hearts, because we don't actually have our health refilled in between this and the next boss. You can see the dive kick trail going off there at the start of this cutscene. But that was phase 1 and 2. Now we're at phase 3, and we're hoping for an attack where he summons spikes from the ground, because we can SJP into him and then stall ourselves just enough to avoid all the spikes. But he always starts with a swooshing attack. He usually does it just twice. This attack is also fine. Oh, wow. That usually doesn't go that well. Now, if we were anywhere except pinned to the wall, we get a bunch of momentum when we traveled through there. But because we had no momentum going into it, we didn't retain any. But which is fine, because we were right by the exit. So this platforming is probably the toughest in the game. You gotta be really precise, especially if you're trying to go fast. I am playing this a little bit safer than I normally do. Oh my goodness, I tried to go for an SJP there to skip a couple seconds, but that did not pay off one bit. Because now we have to do the whole thing again. Tried to get the backup wall jump and I missed it by just a little bit. Just gonna do it the old-fashioned way. Now there I was actually gliding one time in the air. Like one extra press of the jump button, and that's just enough. Lost a couple seconds there to not getting the second spin boost, but what can you do? So coming up is the final boss, and when it starts, I'm immediately going to pause. And the reason for that is because when you pause and die in this fight, you start at the top. And as you saw earlier, when you wall jump, you can dive kick and not fall straight down. So, if you can maintain an active hitbox near a stationary target, you can take it out basically instantly. Now here we're going to use super jump punches to kind of maintain our height here, because there is no skip of that level, because we can't wall jump off of this boy. Oh, if I could hit him, that would be nice. And we got him. Let's-a go. Now we're almost at the end. We're about a minute out. As soon as we hop back on the bicycle, we'll be in this wonderful little cutscene. Just look at her go. And you can press the jump button to make a bunch of silly noises happen. Alrighty. So we're at the last section of the game. Wait, we got the heart as we were falling back down. I didn't know that could happen. That's hilarious. So now we have one last hit to make against the boy himself, Mr. Skellyman, and that is his canon name. And once we deal the final hit, time will end when the lightning appears on screen. And time. And that was Super Benbo Quest Turbo Deluxe Any %. This game is nonsensical, it's wild. At the first marathon I've done with this game, people loved it. Like, it was voted as one of the favorite runs of the entire event. As you can see, it's got a lot going on. It's silly, it's jokey, just an all-around a good time. I really do hope you consider this for the marathon. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I'm just gonna let this final scene play out. Alright, thank you again for watching. I hope you consider this for the marathon. Have a great day.